So you had asked me before we played that what the three satellite structures next to the Great Giza Pyramid, Anna, and the three structures next to Carolina, the third structure. So
which one now is my name? Which one now is my name?
Yours is the one that's next to Anna.
Do you want me to? Shall I get a picture of that up so that people? Because hang on. This is Angel's favourite room, well, one of his favourite rooms. There. This is Karen. Oh, your phone's ringing now.
Yeah, but I can't stop that.
This is Karen. Yeah, this is under my name. Yeah, but this is the room that they've closed down now. But when you're looking at it, it would be one of the little pyramids. Well, what looks like a little pyramid. It's one of the only ones that's left, isn't it?
We can get to that by hitting X in a second, but I want you to see something while you're staring there. What you should be looking at the bottom, a little bit to the left of center, there's a hole in the wall right down by the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
That's the inlet hole that I was talking about in my video. You'll notice that hole is within that well that's at the bottom of the ramp.
Do you think that bit's been changed there? Like it's got they changed that?
Well, I think they had to break through it. You see that slide that comes down to the left of the picture?
Yeah.
They had to break that to get in. And if you notice, if you take, you're looking at a 3D picture, you can actually rotate it if you want. You can count about 7 pieces of cement that are not part of the structure that are positioned on the wall. You can see them. I'm sure they will fit like puzzle pieces right back in there because that was actually designed so that was like a funnel or a breathing tube, if you think of it like that. That the liquid within that room would have a breathing tube to get outside. If you notice, it would have gone like a snorkel right into that same well that the hole comes into. You can even bend it down and look at it. This would be how they could take samples and visually from the outside see the level. But that would have been, where the water is. And you can look by turning around the room and see that you're within a bubble. You're within a bubble. And if you look to the right where it goes, there's another exit to the right that goes to the grate, which is between the two rooms. So if you want, I can even get you pictures of those.
Oh, what? A much bigger outlet, you mean? Down the bottom?
There is if you take and turn to the right from where the entrance is, the opposite corner.
Yeah.
There is also an exit out there that goes to the outside at ground level. And there are photos of that. I don't have to make any of it up. You also notice right in front of the exits, there seems to be about 6-8 inches away from the wall, a hanging piece of rock, and you can see the watermark on it. This would allow the pressures to play in the room, and to allow when there's too much pressure, the gas, which I'm going to suggest to you is hydrogen, would be able to bubble its way out.
You mean there's a stone? There's a stone in there. You mean that?
Well, I can't see what you're looking at, so you say that.
Well, the man has got his back. He's looking at the entrance, and he's got his back to the entrance. And then to the right of him is a stone covering up this sort of hole. Well, not covering it up, it's in front of the hole. Are we looking over there then? Where are we looking? I'm looking. So we've done the bit with the slide on it and the steps.
Where his back is, there's a hole down at the bottom. And if you look up above it, you notice that there's a top that goes down into that same area.
Oh, what, in the stones there? Oh, right. Above the stone that's placed there. There's a hole in the wall, you mean?
Right. Correct. And that would go down to the same area. They would meet. Behind there, at an elevation above the second rock, you see where there's a split there. You got like 3 levels there. Like between, it would probably be at the same elevation between right behind the middle elevation of rock. There's an opening that goes out to the side. What this would allow is the liquid that's up, you can almost see where it practically would get up right above where it could spill over into that hole, but it wouldn't matter because it's filling from the back also. But that would be its high level mark. And you see its low level mark is down right about in line with
the stone.
The lowest break in the stone. And that would allow, when there's a lot of gas in there, the gas would be able to push down on the surface and would bubble out the hole behind that rock to alleviate the gas, but still maintain the pressure.
Oh, I see. You mean there's like 2 holes there, isn't there?
Right. And if the water raised up a little bit, it would allow, because there's too much water and not enough gas, or the water pressure was higher, it would allow that water pressure to come up to that same opening and then be let out. So it's self-maintained. When there was too much water, it would let some, and there was too much gas, it would let some gas out. And that would control the pressure of what's inside of the grotto area. This room was the control for the outside. And the reason it had to be outside of the structure is because it has to base everything ambient pressure. And you can't get natural ambient pressure being inside of the structure. This outside of the structure is what controlled the pressures within the structure against natural ambient pressure outside the structure. And I don't have to reconstruct, make any of this up, or change anything. It's all, I would love to get this, a printout of this, and just print it on a 3D printer and put it to use. Now, if you turn where the guy is facing, you look at where he's facing, right there would, if you look at it, it's broken. You see how it looks like it's broken?
What, the stone on the right, you mean?
Well, that stone, well, you see with the stuff on it, so you could at one point climb in and out.
Oh, right, yeah, you mean the like an archway?
Right. Now that archway, that's damaged. You can see on the side where the rock is broken, at the top where the rock is broken. If you look directly above it, there's a big chunk of rock. If you look to the left, there's a big chunk of rock. If you look around the room, practically behind them, there's 2 or 3 more chunks of rock just sitting there. One of them has somebody's graffiti on it. They wrote their name and probably their birthday or when they were there. Those pieces would more than likely fit together like a big Tetris game to reconstruct that opening, because that opening was supposed to be like a the same way you check your oil, a dipper, but not.
Right, it wasn't as big as that, and they're not going to put the bits in so that you can see how it works, are they?
If they put the bits in, you couldn't climb in and out of it. It would be a double-edged sword. If you put the bits back, then you reclose the room.
Oh, you sound better now.
But in order, well, that's my headset died. I'm on real cell phone now. I have to hold it to my head. I'm getting radiation, but that's all right because I'm doing it for you.
Oh.
It would actually, otherwise, if that was as it is now, the gas would be able to escape right out that entrance. It would never build up enough pressure because the gas would only go down to the top of that archway. But if you look at it, the way this was constructed, it would have closed off that whole area to about halfway, maybe 6 inches above the floor there. You can see.
Well, probably on the right-hand side is a bit funny there, so it was obviously all attached to that.
That is how that room would function. With that broken like that, it won't build up enough pressure. It won't. It will never build up enough pressure to function. And I don't have to make it up. It's right there in rock.
Mm. Oh, wow, amazing. Yeah. So these little pyramids are bigger than you think they are, aren't they? They're a bit bigger.
Well, they're bigger, and they're really more complicated. Now, right above, I want you to look right above the hole, the one that I was talking about.
Mm.
You notice it. You see a mark that looks like almost like a big, wide battery terminal with two terminals on the left and right.
Oh, what, the red things?
No, they're not colored. You see the crack in the wall? Go from the hole I was talking about, the one that I believe comes from the Great Giza Pyramid.
Oh, what, you mean the first one? With the hole down the bottom of the slide, where the slidey bit is?
Yes, right in the wall. If you come down the main entrance where the guy is looking at, and then look on the wall to the, if you were walking down to your left.
It looks like something else was there, doesn't it?
Well, I think they had to break through that because there would have been a channel, and that has to also do with pressure and keeping the water. But when I get to recreate this in a 3D CAD and build it on a wax or something like that, plastic or something, I believe that just as there's an opening on the outlet to maintain pressure, you know how the water has to go behind that rock, and depending on whether it goes up or down, it would let it out. Here, it's the same thing. There would have been something right in front of that, but still allowing the water to come out. And I believe they saw an opening and they chased it through the rock and damaged it while they were chasing it. But take that and follow the crack up the wall, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's a funny shape, isn't it?
You see that shape that's in the wall.
Mm.
I'm going to suggest to you later that's communication, but I just want you to see it exists so that when I refer to it later, you go like, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking about, maybe calling that the Karen bed or something, because it looks like a bed with a foot and a head rest, you know what I mean? I'm not sure what to call it, but I think that marking will mean more to us as we go down the road, because I don't think that was put there by mistake. Also, if you want to get into some little bit of communication, in the subterranean chamber, if you look at the ceiling, it looks like 3 squares separated by itself by a little bit, just like in the king's chamber, where there's the exact same thing of 3 squares against the wall, the ones that don't make sense to them, where they look like 3 squares that are joined together.
Hey, do you know something? Sorry, I was just moving the picture around. We've got both the cracks there, but when you look on the ceiling, the lines down the wall match the lines on the ceiling, even though they're like cracks or something on the rocks.
I noticed that, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but if you also notice there's a dimple up at the top where it starts. And what I think might be occurring, but I'm not sure yet, is you might get condensation of a gas up there to a liquid, and that they wanted to give it a path to, follow itself down the wall. But the way that only the one against the far wall looks like it actually brings it down. If you
I see, on the wall, there's a thing
one
sticking on the wall and the ceiling. That's what you mean, the dimple.
Right. And if you follow it to the far side, it looks like it coaxed whatever that was. If you took a spray bottle and put it there and just followed what the drip of water would do, it looks like it comes down to that first step, and then it looks like it actually goes down behind that second step, and then it looks like it's brought in, and you can almost see where there's a bunch of the discoloration that looks like some liquid was then represent pool. And if you look right where it drips into it, that is where I say you can see the water line right at that exact spot. So I'm not sure that was damage. I think that is more construction. And they didn't always do things neatly. They may have wanted to be more with nature. I don't know. There may be a rhyme to that pattern, but you can't dismiss if you took a little spray bottle of 409 or something and sprayed it up there and then just watch which way the drips go and follow them. That's kind of where it would go. It also could be that the marking there, it may be that whatever condensates is more acidic or something. And maybe it's the drips over the years etched. As every time it drips, it takes a tiny piece of the wall with it. I don't know, but that's more assumption. We'll find out when we actually get some function done, when we actually put it to play and model it. Stop thinking it's a tube. Now you'll also notice the elevations in here, the steps. We're going to marry them up in time with the different elevations and different parts of the structure, because I think those would be your watermarks of where they could tell. And I say they could tell, but no one would ever be in this room after it was constructed. It would be sealed. But when constructing, they needed to make sure they made things at certain elevations that echo the elevations inside the structure. Otherwise, the pressures wouldn't work correctly. You know, if things aren't at the right elevations, water is not going to find its level properly. Bubbles aren't going to, you know, this thing was mega well engineered.
Yeah. Amazing room.
And this is an amazing room. That's my Karen room.
The Karen room. Angel, I've got to go very shortly. We're going to have
All right, you go have your tea.
Well, I hate wrapping things up, but it's never really a wrap up, is it? It's just on to the next bit with talking to you.
Until next time.
Yeah, but interesting things. I mean, you know, in the crack between there's things on the wall. You don't know what that was. Next to the first crack, it looks like there has been something on the wall. Oh, I don't know. It looks like those blocks. It's probably them, isn't it? Messing around.
Well, the people who first came in here, they had no idea. They were just looking, like you said, they were looking for treasure. They were looking for, a mysterious thing that had gold and silver and would justify all the effort they took to break into here, because they were in search for gold. They found gold, and they don't know that they found gold because they don't understand what they found.
They have found gold, but it wasn't the gold they thought they were going to find.
They wasn't the gold they were looking for. They didn't know what they had, and I can understand it back in those days. Have you seen the movie The Planet of the Apes, the second or third one?
No,
anyway,
I don't watch those ones.
There's a group of people that found an unexploded missile, and they think it was a gift from the gods, so they have it on an altar, and they bow to it, and they bring gifts, and they have an unexploded missile, and they are bringing it gifts, because all they know is it came from the heavens, and, they are treating it as a god. Oh, thank you for this faith. And these people didn't know what they had. And they are praying to this thing. And I would love it if it was like a nuclear power plant or something, but I don't think it is. And I could say, hey, it's like a bunch of people praying to Chernobyl 1,000 years from now, or 10,000 years from now. Oh, look at Chernobyl. They made this great monument and they covered it in cement. Must be super important. Everyone that goes in there dies. Oh my God, you must be worthy to enter the Chernobyl plant. Oh.
Yes, Angel.
Anyway,
when you look at the picture, the bit, where you said it's a slide, that looks like that was some kind of steps as well, but obviously much steeper and smaller steps. I don't know.
I don't think there were any steps. This was not designed for people to enter.
Steps of whatever they were doing. Right. Not human steps.
This here would have been synonymous to the upper one in the middle structure, where it would just be exposed to the outside world. Because it needed to have the pressure of the outside world, 14.4 pounds per square inch or whatever it is, pressing down upon it. It needed that to be the pressure that was controlling what was inside. because inside it has no way to feel the pressure of the outside, so it doesn't have a pressure relief valve. This is the pressure relief valve for what's occurring inside. If there's too much gas, it would fill the back corner where the back of the guy, and then would go out this side where it comes out at ground level. And if there was too much water, it would fill up and do the same thing. And they can tell what it is from the outside looking into the hole. They could see the washer level. I'm not quite sure if they wanted to touch it, because I do think the water would have been charged, but they could still be the washer level. And most likely take samples if they had to. And I think if you look at the entrance, it looks like it was about 2 inches above the ground is where, if you look at that ridge that comes down cleanly down the wall, it stops right above the step. So that would be enough to allow water to seep in, but would be low enough so the air would never, or the gas, would never get low enough to bubble out that side. It would bubble out the other side, which is at a higher elevation. It was a super well-engineered room.
Well, I've got to go now, Angel. I've got to go.
Well, you go. Oh, and by the way, if you just hit the X in the top left corner, you'll see exactly where you are on the plateau.
Oh, what have you pressed that? Oh, right, there you go. But, Angel, thank you for calling me in the video. But what did I say that was so interesting that you had to put my name in there?
I didn't have to put your name. I can change it. If you don't want it, I can change it.
No, it's fine. But what did I say that was so interesting?
You asked me about it. You were one of the first people who were inquisitive about a year or two ago about that particular room, and I have to give it a name. It's my theory. It's my thing. So why not call it of the person who was most interested in it?
Oh, it's very sweet of you. But I do enjoy your hangouts very, very much indeed.
So instead of being the pyramid of Hanutesen, whatever the hell that is, it's the Karen build. I don't even want to call it.
This is my build.
Because there's no fire in that building. It's not a pyramid.
No.
Only I'm going to start arguing with you for this. The Great Keeper, and everything else is just a monoline construction.
Would you like it if some of the other pyramids in Europe did have arcing marks in them? Would you like that, or do you think
I still have my fingers and toes crossed about the Bosnian pyramid, and I do hope that this was not the only one of its construction. However, looking at how it is, you would have to have, in order for it to be doing an identical thing and having, being identical, you would have to have a mirror of it somewhere. And I don't think anywhere that we have a mirror of this construction upon the Earth. I think, or upon the whatever you want to call it, the surface of the Earth. I don't think there is anything like it. I do think it is the only one. I do think other structures, the Bosnian pyramid, the way that they have the tunneling system underneath it, I do think that was a power distribution as well, using the same type thing. Even the Bosnian pyramid is great because they had shafts that went up at like a 45-degree angle, but they were sealed. So, every theory they come up with makes no sense, but it was only sealed with like 6 inches of rock. If you have static electricity, 6 inches of rock is not a problem. The static electricity will resonate through it. Just, that's what static electricity does. If you have an abundance of static electricity riding on the surface of the water that are in those tunnels, because all those tunnels are flat as flat can be. They're walking around there. They've got like 6-8 inches of water in it across the entire tunnel system. That's because static electricity doesn't ride in the water, it rides on the surface of the water, technically. So I do think that was a distribution. The water doesn't have to low up the tunnel, and water in the tunnel that's coming from the top. And the static electricity will find the path of least resistance, which will be the watcher over the ground, which has the greater resistance factor. These are just facts of science. They utilize water the same way we utilize copper wire. And this leads me to believe that we will find something within the Bosnian pyramid. It doesn't have to echo what this is, but we will find something in the Bosnian pyramid that was somehow utilizing either static electricity or some freak of nature that we haven't yet figured out. Maybe there's a geyser underneath it. Maybe there's, I don't know. We don't know. But I do know that they don't know either. And unfortunately, they don't have $1 million to just take a lot of shovels and unbury it. And they don't, they're working on a shoestring budget, and they still think it's some sort of a tube. So whenever they come across something, instead of just accepting it for what it is, they try to mentally say, well, why would some pharaoh have done this? I don't understand why the pharaoh would have done it.
It's got to be a tomb, hasn't it?
Tomb theory suggestions say they had to hide the spirit channel.
And you know what? I'm not intelligent like you, but it's obvious to me it's not a tomb.
You're not intelligent.
No, I'm not as intelligent as you. But Angel, I've got to go. That's one thing I know is I've got to go.
Go have your tea.
But thank you very much for more explanation.
You have a great day. Catch you later.
Okay, we're going to stop the video now. Thank you very much, Angel and chat room. Hope you've enjoyed this episode with Angel.
You have a great day, Karen. Thanks for your time.